I'm just going to be a scientist and experiment. Eventually, it would be great to have an engineer who's working with this who can take a look at comments that are flowing in from either source and feed them to me. But right now, because we're still using the technology that we started with, I can't do that. Let me see. Let me get out of this. Okay. And so we've got this. So it is streaming to YouTube, and we've already got a viewer. So we'll see how many viewers we get and whether or not people ask questions. And we'll get started in just a minute. Facebook is losing relevance. I don't know if it's losing relevance. Recording stopped. Somebody else stopped the recording. I understand. Okay, so I'm going to record on this computer as well, so that no matter what happens, I've got a backup. And we'll get started in a minute. But the fact is that since we're already starting on YouTube, if anybody has a personal thing that they wanted to ask about that you don't want recorded, you don't want publicly, you might need to reach out to me more privately. Next time I will ask that question earlier, but today's just gotten a little complicated. Anyway, so welcome to Firedance. This is Stephen Barnes, and this is our regular Saturday get together where we talk about what happens when we engage the full body mind in a plan to make 1% progress per week, which actually, if you're choosing goals in all three major arenas, that's plenty. That's a lot of change in a relatively short time frame. So don't overestimate. You cannot overestimate the need of the human psyche for consistency. You try to change too much too fast, and you're gonna trigger fear. It's gonna feel like, oh, where's my life? Not only that, if you change too much too fast, you will cause problems with your associations. Your friends will start having problems with you because those relationships are based on you being a particular person and them being a particular person. Change too much too fast, and they can feel very uncomfortable about it. So, because I think that tribe is incredibly important, and quite frankly, you want to bring as many of your old friends along with you as you possibly can. You want to change. You don't want to change so fast that you no longer recognize who you are and they don't recognize who you are. I'll be quite honest with you that there are a lot of people who've known me for years who thought I was bluffing about my personal change and my commitment to change. And if you take one step every day and the people around you are standing still, and it's not that they're standing still, but it's like they're moving in different directions, sometimes moving in loops. If you make just one step every day, pretty soon you're going to be on the other side of the horizon. And in order for people to deal with their own guilt and fear, they will often start to accuse you of having done something strange. Or new people who meet you will try to say you were born on the other side of the horizon. It's really fascinating to watch. It was a consequence of success that I had not anticipated. There are lots of books about how to deal with failure. There are not that many on how to deal with success. I've seen very few, and that's interesting. Anyway, so welcome to the show. And before I go any further, I would like to introduce my lady love, my wifey, and my partner in crime, the wonderful Tananarive Dew. If she's ready to come on screen, I'm not sure if whether or not she is, but if she is, she will appear like a genie. Let me rub the lamp 3 times. Are you there, honey? Nope, she's not there yet. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do right now is for everybody to unmute themselves and to just cheer. Let's just say hello and give each other virtual high fives, get our
Hello,
energy up.
everybody.
Really, really
Hi,
critical
everybody.
to
Everybody.
do that.
Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
So good to see
Absolutely
you.
important.
High
There
five to
you
you
go.
all.
Fantastic. There's
Oh,
everybody. There's everybody.
Hello,
oh,
Love you guys.
Tananarive.
oh.
Yeah, and Tananarive just popped on. So, sweetheart, let me pin you.
Hello.
And
No, that's
how you
not
doing,
me.
honey?
You have to put me on what's it called? Spotlight. But anyway, I'm doing great. Let me co-spotlight us. Let me see
Yeah, I
spotlight.
don't know. I don't understand Spotlight. You can.
And add spotlight. And there we are. Here's a story of a okay, playing the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey everybody. If you saw my newsletter, you can probably guess that I just pulled my head out of yet more research from my novel. Steve can attest to the fact that I've pretty much gotten down the rabbit hole on my new book, which is such a joy considering that my last book was so difficult to write and not fun at all. So this one is just way more fun. And
Unmute yourself, honey. I muted everybody. Unmute yourself.
my agent was a little concerned about how much fun I seem to be having. And he said to me, "W- where's the anger?" And I was like, okay, fine. And I told him, I forget what I told him exactly. Oh, that my character of Maisel, who's basically a child star, she's a child performer in the 1920s. And I was just writing the chapter about her first screen test, which is of course super fun and exciting. The whole family's there, and the producer treats them well. Racism is not so much a character in this book in the first chapter, pretty much at all. But then I told my agent, well, they're from a performing family. They performed all over the country. And when she starts working on this Our Gang ripoff show, she is going to have a dialect coach. And he says, why is she going to have a dialect coach? I say, because she doesn't know how to talk like that, like they talk like Black people.
Ebonics.
Right. I mean, Eben, oh, help me, help me, help me. She doesn't know how to do that. So they're going to actually give her a dialect coach, which was a true thing, I believe, on the set of Gone with the Wind as well. So once I told him that story,
Well,
he
what is
was
it in God? What was that? The Robert Townsend movie,
oh, Hollywood
Hollywood
Shuffle.
Shuffle. Yeah, he talks about that extensively.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still going on, but believe me, it was a thing. Like when talkies first started, because she was great with silent film, but then when talkies started, they realized her enunciation is too good. She doesn't talk like a pickaninny, which is basically the role she's playing. So she has to learn how to do that. And when I told my agent that story, he was like, "Okay, I get it. The anger is going to be there. Carry on."
It's okay. It's okay.
He
Thanks,
just wanted to
sweet.
make sure that there was a core of real rage underpinning this horror story. And yeah, there is, but I can still have a good time.
Yeah, just and remember, my point of view would be that all you have to do is find what are you afraid of in this scenario? Because anger is the way we mobilize fear. So in the reformatory, what there was to be afraid of is obvious. And then we can be angry about the fact that these good people were made to feel afraid and angry as a way of protecting ourselves from our own emotions. So if you can find the fear, the way in which society or the entertainment industry or whatever can be a Procrustean bed cutting off the parts of you that don't fit the narrative, and you connect with the parts of you that felt excluded, the parts of you that what were your fears about not being able to find a partner,
Well,
not
I
being
was
able.
definitely that person who didn't speak correctly, for the
That's
way
right.
stereotypes thought I should speak. So, oh yeah, I'm in there. The anger will be fine, but I'm allowed to have fun while I work on this. Anyway, I'm going to
Indeed you are.
unspotlight myself
Well, not
and
only
be
that, but you don't want to hit the same emotional button over and over and over again.
right. That's why I'm
You want variation.
intentionally veering away from at least personal racism at the beginning of the book because the reformatory has so much of that. It's like Jim Crow is a character in the story.
Yeah,
This is more about the birth of Hollywood and how it molded the images of Black people that, frankly, we're still fighting to overcome today. And
it's true.
it's interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna unspotlight. Hello,
Okay.
everybody, and I'll be in and out. Okay, bye bye.
Okay. So unspotlight, and all
And I'm
right.
gonna
S-
unspotlight you too, so you can
That's
see
fine. That's fine.
everybody
So I
else.
guess we did a lot of talking last week, bringing Think and Grow Rich into this space because, as I said, when people talk about the things that are bothering them in their lives, quite often it'll be something like, I hate my roommates, I hate my job, my house is falling apart, this is wrong, that's wrong. And it's interesting how often the things that they are complaining about would be solved by money. People actually sometimes say, I got no problems in my life that money wouldn't solve. And yet they don't focus on, well, what does it take to make money? And I find that to be unfortunate in considering that I just just 3 weeks ago, made contact with the core lesson that I learned about money, the 40-minute recording of Think and Grow Rich done by Earl Nightingale. I thought that we'd spend several weeks digging into that. So I wanted, before I went on with today's talk, I wanted to see who has some experiences in the last week of using some of this technology, the morning ritual, the 5 minute miracle, magic formula, or the application of the M in magic formula, map or model, to Think and Grow Rich. So anything that any comments, questions, or requests that you wanted to bring into the space before I go off on one of my endless rants, raise your hands. And let's see if we can't workshop something, or if you have a victory to share with us, or some pain to share with us. Whatever is going on in your lives, bring it into the space. Let's see what's going on. So, has anybody got something they want to say? Jaime,
Hey, everybody. I missed you last week. I had my first big nursery plant sale of the season, so I was busy putting Think and Grow Rich into practical application. And
great.
it was very interesting. Um, the event that I was at was a week earlier than usual, and the weather was not kind to us. So it was very cloudy and cold, which meant the customers did not come out. And
Mm.
yet, my practice of both the Think and Grow Rich principles and the entire fire dance, life writing type of ideas meant that out of the 10 people that were there, I had the best sales of anyone, easily 3 times more than anyone else.
So
So that was a
okay, let
huge
me get
success.
you to focus there for a second.
Yeah.
Your sales are going to be some combination of providing superior products or services and being able to communicate the value of your products and services to the potential customers such that they not only feel that it would be nice to have it, but that their money would give them more pleasure in your pocket. So how did you do that? What was it? What combination of those things were you employing there?
Um, I think I have begun in all areas of my life leaning on the three gates in terms of being kind, telling the truth, and trying to be helpful and useful. And, I'm selling flowers, I'm selling little plants, and
But they give
having
joy to
conversations
people.
with people and giving them information on how to succeed with these plants and building a friendship with each individual person, I think is the practical application of all that.
I would love for you to write a little mini essay that you would share with me that I could take a look at that has to do with how do you apply the three gates specifically to finance, to
Ah,
commerce.
okay.
I would love to see your thoughts about that because I think that there are a lot of people who are afraid that if that they need to do unethical things
Right.
in order to make money. I mean, or in order to win elections, in order to, that I see people who feel that way. And so anytime I see someone having a success with that, I would love it if you would dig in and ask yourself serious questions and share what you've learned. Would you do
Well,
that, Jaime?
I would love to do that. That's very interesting. And I think it ties into what Tananari was saying a minute ago about the research she's doing and having fun with it. Is that I think having fun is a surprising result of using the three gates in finance. It's way more fun, way less stress.
Great, fantastic. See, this is what I think. This is what I believe that what you're looking for is your tribe. There is some way of finding your tribe who needs what you have and communicating to them with joy that bring financial success. This is not an arena that I've put a lot of thought into. So I would love your thoughts because for at the very least, they will spark my own. So you do that, and that would be great.
That's a nice assignment. Thanks.
Okay,
I do have
great.
one more comment because
Yes.
the very next day on Sunday, I was basking in the glow of the success on Saturday, had a nice, quiet, restorative Sunday, And then the very first thing upon awakening Monday morning, I got a phone call that a very close friend had died in an apartment fire.
Yeah.
And I was
I'm
sort
sorry.
of in the position of being the leader of that particular circle of friends. So it fell on me to make the 15 phone calls to everybody to let them know our friend was gone. And the rest of the week has been dealing with grief and other people's
Critical for
grieving
you
and
to
my
take
own.
care of yourself.
Yeah. And so that
If
it's interesting, at least in my experience, when I make one huge spiritual step forward in one area of my life experience is that the universe sits up and takes notice and says, oh, look, one of God's kids is waking up. Let's see if he really means it. And then all these other areas of my life give me opportunities to really practice what I'm
Yeah, that
talking.
is definitely, I would say that's definitely a sign that you're beginning to move in the right direction is when wrong things will happen. There is a point where it'll be more unexpected good things. You know,
Right.
the magic formula suggests that you keep your attention on what's right in front of you, and the things you're looking for will come in your peripheral vision. And that can be negative stuff too, as you said, testing you. And I'm very sorry,
Yeah.
for the loss of your friend. And I'm glad that your friends, your mutual friends, had you to help support them.
Thanks. It was a very interesting thing to realize by the end of the week that fielding 2 or 3 of those phone calls a day for other people who are not handling it well because they have no
Yeah.
experience with how to handle grief well. But I've
Tell
got
them to
so much
breathe.
experience with that I can be useful to them. It's a little exhausting, but I'm able to recognize and take care of myself because of what we do here. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
so
so
good to
glad that
see
you're here
you
too.
all.
And be sure to tell them to breathe. Take the things that you're
Yes.
learning about stress, give it to them. Let's move on to Mark
Thanks.
Richter. Mark?
Good morning, Steve. Am I unmuted?
Yes, how are you?
I am doing better. What you just the question you just asked, when you think back, I started listening to, or watching the Think You Grow Rich video that you sent out the link to a few weeks ago when I was still in a nursing facility. And I got interrupted and I haven't been able to get back to it. But it sparked a few things in my head. I've been in and out of hospitals and nursing facilities for the last couple of months. In the process, my whole muscular system has atrophied to the point where I have to rebuild it from scratch. And to top it off, on Easter Sunday, I had to go in to get my hip surgery because I fell and broke it. And I'm 68 years old. It's not a small thing. So I've been fighting to get back to being able to do things like walk with the walker. And the big challenge for me a couple weeks ago was getting in and out of the car because I just didn't have the strength to do it.
Yes.
So last Friday, we got a hold of one of these little auto grabber bars that just hook into the door latch. And initially, when I put it in, my arm was so high I had no leverage on it. But last Friday, my wife, who is not the biggest, strongest person, although she's an incredibly wonderful soul, she's sitting right here next to me. You might not be able to see her. The Zoom does that.
I can't, but hi to her.
Hi. No, this is Patricia. She and I were able to get me out of the car to get no help from anyone else. We've now done that at least 10 times over the last week. And to me, that is such a huge win because going from being able to get in the car to being able to get out of it almost by myself it blows me away. And
No question.
what the gentleman just spoke was saying about the universe gives you notices when you succeed in one area and says, oh, what about this area? A couple of years ago, I was in a coma for 25 days with COVID. And it took me 6 weeks to get back to more or less normal. And I came out of that thinking I was unstoppable. At that age, I was 64 at the time. This thing, which was killing people younger than me around me, I survived it.
Good.
And I'm back and I'm still here and I'm still going. I never give up. That's one of the,
Good.
that's my power.
Let
That's
me
your
ask
mission.
you a question.
Yes.
In terms of regaining your strength, I assume that you have a doctor, you have a physical therapist, people who are providing you with advice. If you don't have anything that's really wonderful there, one thing that I would suggest is you take a look at the series of exercises called the Five Tibetans. They're
Mhm.
very simple. It's possible to modify them so that they're very easy. You start with no more than 3 repetitions each of 5 simple exercises. No more than 3 repetitions. And as that gets simple, you do that every day. As it gets simple, you add 1 or 2 repetitions until you get up to 21 repetitions. So it's hugely scalable. But by the time you can do 21 repetitions of each of 5 exercises, which takes between about 10 minutes, 10 to
Mhm.
12 minutes, you're actually in pretty good shape. So looking at them as I want to be able to do this, how do I need to modify this? There's one that's for balance, there's one that works abdominal and lower back flexibility. They're like simplified combinations of calisthenics and yoga. But look it up on YouTube, the five Tibetans. Somebody put that in chat, please, because if you can just do one exercise of each, if you can do 1 repetition of each and you start really kind of getting into it so you can feel it, you'll get to 2 repetitions. You'll be able to say, I can do 2 of these. And I would say you stop when you think you can do 1 more repetition. Never push yourself to the point where you feel like that's all I can do. You stop, where it's like, oh, I've got a little bit more in the tank. I got a little bit more gas in the tank. And you treat it as if you are learning something. Disease, weakness, things like this create something called sensory motor amnesia. We literally forget how to operate our bodies. So that if you look at it as I am learning how to operate my body as opposed to I am exercising, it becomes a body mind activity. You're focusing. How do I have to stand to turn in a circle with my arms out like this?
Oh, yeah.
Do I need to look at one point on the wall so I don't get dizzy? Let me do 1 repetition. How does that feel? Feels good. Let me do 2 repetitions. Oh, I think I need to stop there today. Fine. You stop there today. It's the consistency that does it. It's telling your body that you love it and that you would like it to keep moving forward. It's like you've got an old horse, buddy. And the old horse can still take you for a ride, but it needs a little sugar. It needs to be loved. It wants to go out on that walk with you. You don't expect it to be a young stallion. But that old horse, if you take it walking every day, will get stronger and it loves you. So our relationship with our bodies can be like that. It's us, but it's also a vehicle that we use and it changes over time. So exercise in that way is checking in with where you are right now. It's not trying to be who you were 30 years ago. It's who am I today?
Well, when
Who
I
am
woke
I
up
today?
from that coma, I couldn't even move. And I
Exactly.
felt, I didn't know how to eat. I had to learn how to eat all over again. How to get the food into my mouth, how to chew it, how to
Yes.
swallow it. And I felt it was like my second childhood. I did a little speech for that at Toastmasters, but it was extremely educational, and I kind of feel like I'm still pushing that level of unstoppability. I'm trying to convince my body at this point, we've got this. Let's do something in another area, like finance. So we
Yes.
start doing
So
more kind of
this
more useful.
the obstacle becomes the offering. If
Mhm.
you look at the challenge that you've been given and you find a way to embrace it and do the best you can, and you don't expect yourself to do more than you can do, your body will give you all it can, which is all it can do. So beating the hell out of yourself, feeling guilt, blame, shame, that crap, none of that works. But
Right.
being grateful for what you have
Oh, yeah.
opens the door to having faith that you can have more. Your
Yes.
only challenge is to use the maximum percentage of what you have. If you aim at doing the most with what you have, your body will give you what it can. Okay? And
Yeah.
we will be here every week to support you.
Yes. Thank you, Steve. It's a joy to be back. I've missed these meetings so much.
Oh, great, fantastic. This is why we're here. It's the only reason we're here. I there are many things I do in the course of a week. But one of the things that I do and I love deeply because I remember clearly the teachers who helped me. I desperately needed people to teach me how to hold my space, how to take care of my body, how to take my passion and turn it into stories that I could then tell the world and hopefully support my family. This was all because people helped me, Mark. I didn't
Yeah.
figure any of this stuff out myself. At the very most, what I've done is synthesized from the pieces that they gave me. That's the most, if I'm clever, I'm really clever at that. It is my honor to give back. It is my mission to give back. This I love this. So it's great to have you. Thank you for sharing. And let me move on, okay?
Yes, thank you, Steve.
Okay. So let's move on. If other people have questions as we go, I will answer them. But I want to make sure to cover something that I think is important. We kept going over the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich. I'm going to put them back up on the screen. There we go. Now, what we see is that, and I think that these 13 principles can be looked at as if they're building blocks for one another. I really kind of think that you can look at it that way. The first is desire, and that should be kind of obvious. You have to want something. What do you want? If you're trying to help somebody change, lose weight, increase money, have a relationship, and they don't have a desire for it, you got nothing. Until somebody has a desire, you can't even begin. So you have to start there. And if there are people who say, I don't know what I want. Okay, if you don't know what you want, then there's kind of a smart ass answer and a more honest, sincere answer, although both of them are germane. The smart ass answer is, if you don't know what you want, then the first thing you want is to find out what you want. I mean, you kind of judo it. If you don't have a goal, your first goal is to get a goal. So you say, okay, by this time next year, or by my birthday next year, I will have clarity on what I want to do for the next 5 years. And then you spend your time figuring that out. But the other answer is that you want to be happy. You want to be out of pain. There's that continuum of what everybody wants, which is to move away from pain toward pleasure. And then, according to the Dalai Lama, embrace service. So if you look at that continuum as being the meaning of life, to move away from pain, embrace joy, and give service, then you can ask yourself, where am I on that continuum? I'm still in so much pain that I'm not feeling joy. So that becomes your goal. Let me get out of pain. If that's your only goal, though, you will do enough to diminish your pain and then stay right there, because to keep going, you have to take risks, and risks are scary. So if you don't believe that there is joy that's coming up for you, why should you move from that position? So you have to believe that there is joy. You have to believe that there is hope, that there is love, there is health, there's happiness. My thing that I picked up from that Mexican toast to, health, love, money, and time to enjoy them. Not bad. That is not a bad way to look at what we want out of life. So that's the first thing, is faith. We'll go through a few of these and we'll stop and see if there are any questions, because you might kind of think to yourself, I don't have desire. So we've dealt with that. Your desire is to get out of pain and be happy. The second step is faith. You see faith up there, number 2. Faith, and this all fits into the magic formula. The M in the magic formula is map or model. We're simply looking at a map that is specifically about money, although you could apply this really to anything, and it would be very useful. But by having the magic formula and some other map or model that is pleasing to you, you look at the discipline that you're in, the goals that you have, the life you have, maybe the religion you practice or the philosophy that you express, and you get another set of principles, another set of maps that you can use to add specificity to the magic formula. I think that's terrific. I'm not one of these teachers who's jealous. I'm one of these teachers who says, for God's sake, go out, get some new stuff and bring it back home to us. But the second thing is faith. And faith here is you simply have to have the capacity to believe that you can get out of pain, and believe that it's possible to be happy, that your efforts can do it for you. If you have desire but no faith, that leads to depression. You know what you want, but you don't have any idea You don't have any belief you can have it. Even if you don't know how, you have to believe it's possible. You have to kind of say to yourself, I don't know how to do this yet, but I have faith I can. So desire and faith. The third thing up there, move out of the way, is autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is basically a technique that allows you to align your internal resources with your external actions. And by the internal resources, I mean your beliefs, your values, your emotional associations. What you want is to take your brakes off so that you're not fighting yourself. You have faith you can do it. You have the desire to do it, but you could have your brakes on because, on the one hand, you want a relationship. On the other hand, you believe that relationships equal pain. That you have some faith you can do it, but autosuggestion is a matter of releasing your desire and increasing your faith because the voices in your head are telling you can do it. And this is where the morning ritual comes in. This is what the morning ritual is all about. It is about knowing what it is that you want, studying how to get there, finding role models and so forth, and then you take action by every day. First of all, you're doing the 5-minute miracle breathing, and you take your goal, one in each major area, and you apply the magic formula to it, and then you create a morning ritual where for 10 to 20 minutes you are walking or running or doing yoga, or I do Tai Chi, which is why FiredanceTaiChi.com is the cornerstone of this. While you are moving, you perform affirmations, visualizations, you do emotional flooding of all that you have to be grateful for in the world. This is about auto-suggestion gone from affirmations, because in Think and Grow Rich, written in 1928, affirmations were probably the most powerful technology. But going into both ancient and modern approaches to this, by adding physiology, you're making it 10 times as powerful as far as I'm concerned. Specialized knowledge. Okay, so if you have desire and you have the belief that you can and should do this, and you're aligned internally and externally, then specialized knowledge, number 4, is you begin to study the role models of people who have accomplished the thing that you want, preferably starting with no more resources than you have. If you really want to hit this hard, you start with people who have fewer resources than you have. In other words, if you want to be a millionaire and you've got a job, start by studying people who became millionaires who were sleeping in their car when they started. Start with people who were disadvantaged, with people who were born in oppression, who were born in poverty, who were racially marginalized. How did they organize themselves to get out of that? They have the knowledge you need, and you want to become, really, I mean, if you really want success, you figure you're going to do as much work as a doctor does in studying medicine, or a lawyer does in studying the law. You're going to become a world-class expert at succeeding at the thing you want to succeed at. That means that if you're my kind of person, you're studying that discipline for at least an hour a day. The truth is, if you study it for an hour a week, you're ahead of where most people are. If you study people who have accomplished the things that you want, and you're searching for how they think, how they feel, how they move, what their behaviors are, what are their strategies, what are their emotions, etc., etc., this is how you learn what the thing is. So those first 4 steps are so critical that I want to pause here for a moment and see if anybody has any questions about the first 4, because I don't want to leave anybody behind. I want to make sure that everybody has the resources they need to accomplish what they want. And Alexander Adams got his hand up first. Okay, buddy.
Yeah, I was just talking to Sansi here. My biggest problem with trying to use the magic formula, a model, has been really hard for me to find. The entrepreneurial pioneer type, I can do that. I can find those, but not in the entertainment system that I'm in.
Then don't. it's not in the system that you're in. You are a musician. There are tons of musicians that are making zillions of dollars. Look at that. Don't the system that you're in has limitation built into it. Think bigger than that. You may have to transform the system. The system may be set up to keep the people within it poor. I mean, literally, it may have originated from poverty consciousness. So people who have started as troubadours and become international phenomena who also sell other products that relate to what it is they're doing and they leverage themselves, study this stuff. And if you start with desire, you want $1 million net worth. Boom. How long do you figure you can increase where you are by 50% a year? That will tell you, by increasing 1% a week. That will tell you about how long it would take you to get there. I just pulled the number out of the air. Okay. In order to do that, you're going to have to sell products and services. You only have so many hours of your time, so you're going to have to sell things other than your time. You have to get out of selling your time and into selling a service that can make money while you're sleeping. Okay, so by looking at that and studying all the actors, musicians, writers who make money, who transformed the field, who saw new things, somebody who started where you are, got out of there and started making, maybe you're in a tiny little pond and you need to put your toe into a bigger pond where there are bigger fish. So if that's what it is, then that's what you need to study. But the one thing is, looking at the fact that nobody in your social context has ever gotten out of it, that they just, there are people who, make jewelry and sell it at Grateful Dead concerts and follow the great, or Renaissance fairs, and they sleep in their vans, and they travel around the country doing that. That's fine. But if you start noticing people who started there and made it big, what did they do? They did different things. And you're going to have to study that until you are an expert at the patterns of everyone who started where you started and got where you want to go. And you may have to step outside your field. There were no black science fiction writers I could model, but I could model successful writers and I could model successful black people. And all I did was assume that the lessons would overlap. There was not a single role model. I had to make my own way. So in that sense, you're talking to the right guy.
Why do you think I'm here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So does that help?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
All right. Okay, great. So let's see if there's anybody else. Is there anybody else who needs to talk, or can we move on to the fifth step? Because I really want to get through this. I just feel like it's so important potentially. All right, so let's move on to the next step then, and I will stop again later. All right, so I'm pinning, and if Tanana, I don't know the difference between a pin and a spotlight. A spotlight is global, and a pin is my individual thing. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I used to think that, yeah. So spotlight means everyone is spotlighted. Pin is just for you if you don't want to look at everybody else. Which is never you.
So you can,
you want me to spotlight you?
Yeah, spotlight me. That's fine.
Okay.
So that people can see what's behind me. I'm leaning one way or the other. So assuming that you have the desire, you have faith, that you have used auto-suggestion, the morning ritual, in order to align your internal and external thing. You know what you want and you know what you need to believe in order to approach it. And you've done the specialized knowledge thing. You've put in 1,000 hours of study, 100 hours of study. Hell, you can get started with 10 hours of study. You really can. Once you have your mind filled with information about how other people did it, and I'm already seeing people who are brainstorming over there in chat. This is fantastic. That's exactly what I want. You start being able to tap into imagination. And all creativity is the conscious and unconscious bashing together of ideas from different arenas. That's all it is. You see something, you look at a four-leaf clover and you imagine that it could be a freeway overpass. You look at, this and you realize, oh, I could take this idea over here. You take this bit from this movie and this bit from this song and you bash them together and think, oh, I could write a book about that idea. Imagination in that sense is nothing more than ideas bashing against each other consciously or unconsciously. So getting in touch with the part of you that ties into your unconscious mind is a more advanced step here, but this is where you begin. And you're coming up with ideas. You're looking for, let me come up with a bunch of different ideas, perspectives. And one of the things that you want to do is ask yourself, the place that I'm playing, if it's comfortable, if a lot of other people are here, that's called a red ocean. Yeah, there are a lot of people there, but there are also a lot of sharks, so there's a lot of blood in the water. What you're looking for is the blue ocean, where there are a lot of swimmers, but not many sharks. By becoming specialized enough, by asking yourself, what is the specific thing I can offer that no one else in the world can offer? What is my experience of life that is no one else's experience of life? You become unique. Alexander, one of these days we're going to sit down and have a conversation about what I see as being some unique values that you have to offer the world. I think you understand some of the things that are possibilities there. But when I think about my own writing, I ask, what is a Steve Barnes story? I don't try to write other people's stuff. I can't write other people's stuff, but they can't write me. And so if there's an audience that is looking for the values that I bring, and I decline to step into it, what I'm doing is I'm doing second-rate knockoffs of what somebody else is, and I'm not trusting that there is a market for me, that there are other people like me out there. Whereas if I had just had the faith to do what it is that I do, maybe one day I'd grow up and be Tananarive do. I mean, Tananarive is so deep in her uniqueness. She is her family history. She's doing books about her family history, and that book about her family history, in essence, is the most successful thing that she's ever done. It's already outsold her earliest books. See, this is phenomenal. That is an absolute lesson here. So that's the fifth thing, to come up with ideas, ask yourself, run them through a series of filters. What will work in this situation? Is there a market for this? Is there money for this so I can invest my time in it? Is this uniquely me? Those are the kinds of questions that you ask, and then you experiment. And experimenting takes you to number 6, which is organized planning. Once you feel like you have the idea that nobody else has had, you have to figure out how you're going to offer it to the world. How are you going to do this? And so, you have the desire, the faith, auto-suggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination. So you have ideas, and now you put together your plans. How would you do this? I'd have to do this every day. I'd have to do this every week. I'd have to do this every month, this every quarter, this every year. In
Okay, I'm
5-year
gonna move
plan.
over. I told you what to do.
I'm going to mute this. Yes, mute all. Okay. So you need that organized planning. You need that desperately, so that you kind of say, this is the way I'm going to proceed. Once you have done that, you have to move on to step number 7. And step number 7 is you have to decide to act. You have to decide to act. You have to be a scientist. What is the scientific method? You observe a phenomenon. You postulate a hypothesis that explains the phenomenon. You formulate an experiment to test your hypothesis. You perform the experiment. You correlate your results. Did it work or did it not work? If it didn't work, you change your hypothesis or change the experiment and try again. If it did work, you publish your results so that other people can also experiment. I noticed that with the magic formula. What I'm doing right now is I'm publishing my results. I'm saying, did you notice this too? That when you do these things in this order, you get results that you don't expect? And people who are helping me perform the experiment are giving me data. You're going to need to decide to act, because as long as it remains a hypothesis, it's stuck up in your head. You make plans, they're stuck up in your head. You need to take action. And ideally, you need to take action so regularly that you're getting results back every day. Figure you're going to fail over and over and over and over again. Let's say you're going to have 100 failures before you hit that first success. You have a choice. You could take one action a month, which would take you almost 10 years to have 100 failures. Or you could take an action every week, which would give you 100 failures in 2 years. Or you could take actions every day, and in 3 months, you've got your success. So asking how long is it going to take you? It depends on what you decide you're willing to do and how much of it you're willing to do to get what it is that you say you want. So you got to start back there at desire. Do you want it? Do you really want it? Do you have faith you can have it? Are you internally aligned to maximize that faith? Are you gaining specialized knowledge? Are you studying the people who have succeeded at the thing you want? Or like Alexander says, and like I said, you may have to separate those things out. There may not be anybody who accomplished the exact thing that you want to do, in which case you study the people who succeeded at that thing as close as possible, and you study people who maybe succeeded with the disadvantages you have, but in kind of general. So you're looking for specific information here, you're looking for generalized information here, and where they overlap, that's where you can dig. That's where the gold is going to be. So once again, let me pause for a moment because I want to make sure I'm bringing everybody along with me. I'm going to remove the pen and see, are there any comments, questions, or requests about anything we've covered so far? Because the rubber is really meeting the road here. We're talking about how to make money, being of service to your community and doing something that you love, to be able to move your life forward at the same time that you're creating abundance. I don't know of anything that's more important than this. And looking at the magic formula and then combining it with the pattern that changed my life, no question. It was given to me when I was 10, and whether I knew it or not, I've been using it ever since. So let's see. Anybody? No? Okay, then we can go on. I mean, seriously, so spotlight me again. All right. So number 8 is persistence. Once you have the previous 7 steps and you have yourself on a program, it's like, take a look at the 6-step program for selling stories. You write a story, you write a sentence a day, a story every, 1 to 4 stories a month, finish at least one of them and submit it every month. Don't rewrite except to editorial request. Read 10 times as much as you write, and repeat this process 100 times. Can you see the structure that's built into that? Do you understand how I formulated that? By studying the lives and the work of so many fantastic writers. They boiled it down. You can see, you have to have the desire to do it. You have the faith that you can do it. You're the specialized knowledge. You're performing an experiment every day. Every single day, you're writing at least one sentence. Every month, you're performing a different experiment, minimum. Finishing one story and sending it off. You're getting feedback. While other people are sending off a story or 2 a year, you're sending off at least a story a month. And if you're a go-getter, if you're a fire eater, you're sending off one every week. And now you're really understanding. And you have to keep it up long enough to get the results you want. That's the persistence thing. 100 short stories. There's so many people who quit after just getting a couple of rejections. How many rejections do you need? How many doors do you need to knock on before somebody says, yes, I'll buy your vacuum cleaner? Every salesman knows that. How much persistence, how long are you going to have to go at this? How much are you going to have to do to get the information you need to improve? Good question. Number 9 is the mastermind, the principle of the mastermind. The principle of the mastermind is basically that whenever 2 or more minds meet in a spirit of total cooperation, they produce a supermind that is bigger than any individual within the group. The notion is that the mastermind formula, the mastermind principle, is the only known way to compensate for a lack of talent. You can actually compensate for lack of ability by creating a group that contains people with talents and abilities you don't have. In order to do this, there are very specific principles about this. I would suggest get the book Think and Grow Rich. Take a look at exactly what's said there. But basically, it's, if you have at least one person, so a marriage, a relationship, two people looking at in the same direction, with the same goals and the same values, and they're meeting at least once a week. At least once a week. And the person who is in control of the mastermind has to make sure to keep things peaceful and everybody moving in the same direction. One person who's pulling in a different direction. You have to have all the dogs pulling your sled in the same direction. One evil person, one negative person will screw up the entire thing. And I think all of us have had that experience. I'm going to unpin myself for a second, unspotlight myself for a second, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hands. How many times have you had dreams that were poisoned by one wrong person getting in there and putting the brakes on, crapping on your dreams, telling you that you can't do it, can't have it, shouldn't try, aren't enough? How many of us have had that? Now, how many of you are sick of that? Want to be around people who will support them? That's what I'm doing here in the morning. I want you all to unmute yourselves. And if you want to have a group and you're willing to let us support you and you're willing to support others, can I have an amen on a Saturday?
Amen.
Amen.
Absolutely, brothers and sisters. We are talking about taking the dreams that we have and bringing them to the world in a way that removes pain, embraces pleasure, and provides service to the world. That's all I want. That's every bit of this is what I want. And I don't care what religion you are, what spiritual belief. I don't care if you're an atheist. Some of my best friends and most beloved people and the best people are atheists who simply believe in ethics and humanity. So whatever it is that you are, as long as you are willing to be part of something bigger than yourself and support others, you can create a mastermind. And I'll check in every week, study, Google is your friend. There are thousands of pages out there. How do you create a mastermind group? Tanana, Reeve, and I are our mastermind. We have meetings every day, every work day. 5 days a week, we do our blessing dance 6 days a week. That blessing dance aligns the two of us. We are on the same page. We're going in the same direction. Sometimes I'm in the lead, sometimes she's in the lead, and sometimes we're side by side. But we're in this together. I remember talking to my karate instructor. Thank God I still have him. And I was having some issues, some ego issues, because, I'm married to a queen. There's no question about that. And she was having some sort of a massive success thing. And I was saying, I'm dealing with some emotional stuff here. Hollywood respects and loves her more than it does my work. And I could hear the little kid inside me saying, where's mine? How come people don't love me as much as they love her? And he said to me, how long have you been married? I said, 20 years. He just laughed in my face. He said, there is no you and her. There is us. There is the marriage. Clarity. Absolutely. And that's the feeling you have to have in your mastermind group. You find one person who is willing to support your goal and you support their goal, because you can't get people to be a part of this unless they're getting something out of it. They have to be supporting their goal too. One person that you have total alignment with is better than 100 people who are fighting. One person. Then you can add one more person if both of the previous people agree. And that's critical. At one at a time, you can add people, but be very careful. A single disagreement and you no longer have the mastermind. You have a fight. Okay? Add one person at a time. When you get to the point, I don't think you could get up to 7 people without creating an unstoppable force. I really don't think you could, but you have to be very careful. So you only bring in people who add energy, only bring in people who are heading to the same direction, only bring people who are willing to bring you up. If you don't have that, you're back to auto-suggestion. Because at the very least, you need to be your own little mastermind. At the very least, you need to be totally on the right page with what it is that you want and who it is that you are. You have to get yourself to be your mastermind before you'll even be able to recognize another person who is genuinely heading where you're going at the same speed with the same values. And hey, why don't we walk together? Why don't we help each other up the mountain? Sounds good to me. You're going to tether yourself to that person. You can climb Kilimanjaro together or Mount Everest. You can do anything if you can create the right group. You don't have to do it all yourself. In fact, it is impossible to create a goal of any real significance without having allies. And if you have allies, there's nothing you can't do. So let me make sure to find out whether or not, Nick, do you have your hand up?
Oh, yep, I do. We have these conversations week by week. I guess this is maybe the fourth one I've come to.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel an acceleration or accumulation of, excuse my pink face, I'm having allergies today.
It's okay.
I feel an accumulation of lightness, of possibility. I don't like that word because it suggests, having some sort of an airy-fairy notion that, whatever it is that.
There are things that we do not necessarily have. In other words, if you eat this piece of bread that has the hair of the gods on it, you'll get well. It's penicillin. It's fungus.
Okay. Right.
There are things that we don't understand that have perfectly good scientific explanations that we don't yet know. So we sometimes will use language that sounds like we're talking about magic. What we're really talking about, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. There are things about the way the world works that we don't understand logically.
So
Doesn't
when I
mean it
come
doesn't
here,
work.
it's helpful because you're pointing, well, like in this last business about having the idea of planning the day, the week, the month, and the future, right? And making the decision to do it and then doing it. In a very 1% deal, right? I've been listening to another fellow who was and made some very wonderful kind of epiphanies about the quantum physics and the 12 particles and the 4 substances and the Higgs boson field and the way that could be the gateway of God. You could say that's the place where he sticks his finger into the soup. But what does that do? For me, it doesn't do anything unless I can be practical. I've got to find a way to bring all of this wonderful hope down to a series of actions that are doable right now.
Yes. And notice the results that you're getting. Notice the results that you're getting. You perform an experiment. Ideally, it's like I tell people to breathe once an hour, 60 seconds.
Right.
If they do that for just a week, they'll start noticing that there's a positive effect. That's science. They perform the experiment. Now you can come to me and you say, okay, what else you got, Steve? Give me another piece that I can experiment with. So this is what this is about. Everything that I do here, yes, we talk about FiredanceTaiChi.com, LifeWritingPremium.com. Those are paid programs that we have. But what I'm doing on this is I'm giving you everything I can for free. And the idea is that if I do that, you guys are going to think, if this is what he's giving away for free, what in the world can I get if I go more deeply into this? But if you can't afford it, let's talk about making you some money so that you can afford to buy my programs.
Let's have that conversation, please.
Yes, absolutely. So that's what Think and Grow Rich is about. That's why we're talking about this. Let's get some money in your pocket. Let's help you take your desire, increase your faith, align yourself so that faith is certainty. Study the arena that you want to get good at.
Good. Now there's where I was listening to that last fellow you were helping him look at the possibility of going laterally over to someone who does something similar and patching
it's
together.
like I had to study writers and I had to study black artists and I had to study black people who were successful in the business field. because there
Okay.
were no black science fiction writers that I could study
Yeah.
at the time. And it turns out that if you look at those things, you'll start seeing that there are principles that just simply map over. There are certain things that are not about being male or female or black or white or an artist or a business person.
Yeah.
They're about the rules of success, of how do you move away from pain toward pleasure. This is what I want people to do, because the sneaky part of this is once you start noticing it, you'll start seeing that, something, we're all the same.
Yeah.
People
Well,
are
it's
all
like
the same.
if you want that car, once you decide you want it, everywhere you go, there's the car. You
Yeah, you're
can't.
talking about that's the reticular activating mechanism.
Yeah,
That is the
exactly.
reason why there are people who say that you take a look at your goals and you choose one definite chief aim,
Hmm.
one thing that if you did that one thing, it would change your life. So I think for an awful lot of money, that's, increasing their income. I would increase my income by 50% a year. You write that on an index card and you read it aloud to yourself twice a day is what they would say in Think and Grow Rich. Or here with Magic Formula, you say it while you are doing your morning ritual, while you're in motion. And you also include who are the role models who could teach you how to make that money. Who are the people who, if you drop them into your life, they would kick butt, take names and have fun in the process. You find those people, you study those people. And then when you're going to sleep at night, you pose yourself a question. How do I pay this bill? How do I generate this money over this period of time and have fun in the process? Role models get to work while I'm asleep. And you'll find that you get this right. And when you wake up in the morning, you'll have ideas that you didn't have when you went to bed that night.
Hmm.
That's how imagination works, learning how to set these things up in order. And I don't think I had really grasped that it's not precise, but if you do these things in this order, it's like clearing the muck out of pipes in an order.
Yeah.
The water gets this far. Okay, that's where the blockage is. Let me work there. Okay, now it gets this far. Now it gets this far. You keep looking, starting with desire. You go through these in order. It's the same way as the magic formula is. You have to have a map or model. You have to be taking action. You have to have gratitude. You have to have clear intention, and you have to be congruent. But the order doesn't particularly matter. I mean, you could enter into it any way that you want to, as long as you don't have a zero. This is kind of saying, how about we do it in this order? Boom, 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 boom.
So
Trying
in
that.
my situation, because I'm trying to accomplish at 78 something that I wanted very, very much and almost just walked into it in my late teens and 20s. I was due to go on the show The Virginian as a regular guitar playing cowboy, and I blew the audition. I think because I couldn't be comfortable with believing it. It scared me. So here I am at 78. I want to sell some screenplays. Yes, I want the money that comes with selling screenplays too. I want the income. And most of all, at the core of it, I want that wonderful sense of creative, that working in Hephaestus forge, making substantive works that will inspire inspire and inform the audiences about the possibilities in their lives and some of the angels and devils that stride across our
So
society.
your first step then would be to create a map of how do people in general sell screenplays. And that means talking to a bunch of different people who've done it, and you'll start noticing that there are similarities and differences. Then it would be a good idea to look at people who are just getting into the arts at your age
Okay.
and succeeded. And it's kind of say, well, what did they do? Is there any difference between what they did and what people did if they started in their 20s? And you'll probably find that there are differences. So you will then be able to create, that's your specialized knowledge,
Okay.
and creating a strategy. You create your plan so that the work is pleasing to you in and of itself. It's not just about
Yeah.
selling it. You're having fun along the way. And just as a general thing, most of the screenwriters that I know who've been successful will say that they wrote 2 feet of scripts. They wrote a lot of scripts.
You mean 2 feet thick? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And if you join the Life Writing Premium program, I'll tell you that one of the secrets to the Life Writing Premium program that goes beyond the things that we've already said is that every Saturday night, watch a movie and read the script. Every Saturday night, you watch a movie and you read the script while you're watching the movie. Do that, and in a year, you will know more about entering into the world of a screenplay than somebody with an MFA.
Well, that's a brilliant idea. I've been watching Phil,
I forget who taught me that, but it was great.
Oh, it's a brilliant
Might have
idea.
been Robert McKee.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've been studying the last 3 years or so. I've been studying a lot of material from various people.
Good.
McKee included, the book.
He's good. He's better than good. So this is what I say. So you come with us. Remember, you're working backwards from a goal of being joyful. So that's the most important thing: is to be happy, is to be joyful. Because
Having
if you're
fun.
joyful, then money
Yeah.
adds to that. But if you're unhappy, money doesn't help. You know,
Yeah, no, I just piss it away.
that's right. So keep coming here, and I've got to move on to somebody else. But I
Of
hope that
course.
that's giving you some ideas you can use.
Yes, it has. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You betcha. All right. So let's go on to I'm going to spot again. Boop. Okay. So yeah, I've learned something new about how to do this. So we talked about the mastermind, persistence, and we talked about the mastermind. And the third thing is sex transmutation. The mystery of sex transmutation is step 10. Now, the number 9 is the last step on the directly logical path. That makes total sense. But if you have gone that far, then I can interpret sexual transmutation in a way that makes sense. And that is that you take the passion that you would feel for seduction or sex or that creative union, and when you want something as badly as you wanted that, now you have the level of desire and monomaniacal focus that you need to get the best out of yourself. It goes beyond that, but we could do a whole show about sexual magic and how that impacts and what I've learned about that. But that's the simple way to look at it. Now, like I said, that's the end of the logical stuff. So let's talk about something that isn't quite so logical. Number 11 is the subconscious mind. This basically means a refinement and expansion of what we talked about in step 3, autosuggestion, and step 5, imagination. As you refine this, you will have access to deeper resources within your own mind. You are smarter and better than you think you are. So that's what this is. If you take the previous steps, you will find that you are coming up with better and better ideas, more courage, more clarity. That's all that step 11 is saying, really. And step 11 leads directly to step 12, the brain. Now, if you look at this and think Gurich, he's talking about the brain as a sending and receiving station. He is saying, and this is where it gets really woo-woo, that when your energy is at a high enough level and refined sufficiently, you will begin to pick up ideas from people around you. If you create a mastermind group, and you notice this in a marriage, a relationship, a friendship, you can get entrained to that person like two tuning forks, and you start picking up the things that they're thinking, things that they're saying. You'll say something just before they say it. That's what your brain, as a receiving station and a transmission station, that's what he's talking about, is you're starting to operate at a higher level of brain, of mind. The truth is that it's hard to find language that expresses these ideas, these last 3-4 ideas. It's hard. But the fact that he did this in 1928 is startling. And once again, then you get to the 13th principle, assuming that you have the desire, the faith. You've used autosuggestion to align yourself. You've massively buried yourself in specialized knowledge about the subject. You've learned how to open the doorway between your conscious and unconscious mind so that your imagination is bashing ideas together and producing new ideas synthetically or creatively. You know how to create plans that operate with, you're improving your executive function. You know what to do, why you're doing it, and how to do it. You've made the decision to take action, and you're prepared to take whatever risks. So your organized plans need to start with small risks, like just writing one sentence a day, as opposed to huge risks like, let me write a book. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to spend 3 years writing a book, and then I'm going to sit it out and I'm going to get rich. That's a great way to ruin your life. Persistence, you're doing it continuously. And in order to do that, you have to be moving toward joy rather than away from pain. Because if you're moving away from pain, as soon as the pain diminishes, your motivation stops. But if you're moving toward joy, the more you do, the better it feels. So let's have beans in every meal. I'm sorry, camp flashback. The mastermind, the only way to compensate for lack of ability, resources, even intelligence, education, is to gather around yourself one person at a time, people with whom you are in total alignment. And when you have at least one person with whom you're in total alignment, you operate like a supermind. And then you add one more person at a time, just one, to keep expanding. If you do those things, you get to that mystery of sex transmutation where you stop wasting your energy chasing around after Nookie, and you take a look at the drive to connect on that level, that survival drive, and you say, I'm going to pursue the thing I want to accomplish with all the passion and commitment that I pursued that boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. It's in that arena. If you take those 10 steps, then the next 3 start opening themselves up. They won't even make sense to a lot of people unless they've gone through those earlier steps. And that is step 11, the subconscious mind, where if you've taken those other steps, you start getting a deeper connection to your own genius. Step 12, the brain, where you are becoming a receiving and sending station so that you and one other person are vibing at a higher level. And when you're in public, what he is saying, and I suggest to you that he says that unless you've gone through the previous 10 steps, you're not in a position to be able to judge whether this is true or not. You will pick up things from other people even if they don't say it aloud. And step 12 or 13, the sixth sense. The sixth sense is your connection to infinite intelligence, the Akashic field, that however you want to put it, that there is the universe, and that if your mind is operating at a clear and high enough level, you will get messages from it. If this is what the shamans are talking about in being in alignment with nature, perhaps so. But the truth is, we don't really have good language for this. So let's not worry about that, except for people who are willing to trust that. Unfortunately, a lot of the people who are willing to believe in high level spiritual things don't ground themselves in the spirit, in the physical, practical things. So we want to be grounded in the belly brain. Then we can open our hearts, and then we can be of service or connect to the larger universal social or energetic fields. This is difficult because I can talk about this stuff strictly practical, and I can talk about it purely emotionally, and I can talk about it intellectually, or we can talk about it spiritually. I can talk about these things on any level, and it is that clarity, that commitment to my own survival, as well as my love for myself and my love for my family, and my urge to contribute to the world, to you, to your families, to our nation, to our planet. To the degree that I have all of those things lined up, I am working at the highest level I am capable of working at. And there are definitely times where I'm feeling like I am working over my own head here. I mean, I don't understand some of the results I get. And a big chunk of that is because I'm married to a magnificent woman who is really well integrated on those basic levels. Her mom really prepared her for her life. And so she does automatically things that I have to think about, things that I had to put together myself. And there are ways in which I'm a Frankenstein patchwork of different philosophies and pieces. I really am. Whereas she's what I call a potato. She's just kind of solid. She's kind of there. This is just who she is. Anyway, so let me remove the spotlight and open the floor. We have 20 minutes in which we can talk about any of your concerns, whether it addresses what we've been talking about here or what's going on in your life, things that are going well for you, things that aren't going well, any problems, any comments, questions, or requests that you have. I would love if you would bring it in here. And if you will do that, then I don't have to go and find you. So volunteer or you will be voluntold. So come on, who's going to raise their hand? Preferably somebody who hasn't spoken up today or recently even. Who's willing to give us something? Oh, you're going to make me grab you. Okay, Suzanne Paul.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, I most certainly can.
Okay. Um, I'm just starting out on this particular journey,
Yes,
but I'm trying to get or put aside some childhood baggage that I think we all wind up dealing with from time to time.
absolutely, 100%.
Um,
How can we serve you?
well, in terms of gratitude, I sometimes have trouble with gratitude because in my upbringing it was coupled with guilt.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, just love yourself. And your first step, we use an exercise called the ancient child, where you visualize the child that you were. That you are now that little girl's mommy. So you need to give her all the love and acceptance that you wish you'd gotten when you were younger. So I would say that every day in a meditation, get a picture of yourself when you were a little girl, and look at that little girl and just tell her how much you love her. And when in your meditations, you hold her in your arms and you tell her that mommy is here and I will protect you and serve you. You will never be alone again. And if you give her all of that love, then you can start asking, what did I have to be grateful for? I'm grateful for the connection I have with my heart. And that gratitude is an antidote for fear. Gratitude opens the door to faith, because if you can be grateful about what you've already got, it's easier to believe that good things can happen in the future. So start with loving yourself. And if you do that right, we have wired into us physiologically the urge to protect the younger generation. So once you see that little girl and see how precious and vulnerable she is, let that mommy tiger out. The part of you that would stand at the gate of your heart and let no one come in who would harm that little girl. That when you are prepared to die before you'd let anybody hurt her or spit on her dreams or criticize her in a negative way, it changes, because your heart, which is just a symbol, the little girl is a symbol that you're using to love yourself and have faith in yourself so deeply that you can feel the mommy tiger bare her teeth. When you hold a newborn baby in your arms, you would do anything to protect that child. We are programmed with that. We can't get away. And once upon a time, someone loved you that much. Children, babies who are not loved die. It's called failure to thrive. So even if you can't remember it, even if you were abused, there was a time when your mom or dad, your mom had that oxytocin in her system and she loved you. Maybe it faded over time and things got bad, but there was a time when you looked into the eyes of love. And now what you need to do is do that for yourself. If you can tap into those circuits, you can begin your healing journey. The most important single thing is the breathing. That every hour, on the hour, take 60 seconds of deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing. And you go to YouTube and you look up diaphragmatic breathing if you need to. yoga breathing, Tai Chi breathing, Qigong breathing. Learn it every hour on the hour, and you do that at least 5 times a day. If you will do just that in the week between now and the next time you come on here, you will have experienced change. I promise you. If you can do that single thing, we can help you. So, will you, even if you don't manage to do it, are you willing to promise yourself that you're going to do that? Just breathe. It takes 5 minutes a day. If you will do that, we can help you. Will you do that for me?
I can do that.
Fantastic. You do that, you show up here, we will support you. This
Wonderful.
is,
Thank you so much.
oh God, we love this. We love doing this. We love sharing. And all you have to do is in the chat, talk to people, support them, give them positive energy. Every single person here has people trying to crap on their dreams outside. That means that we can kind of be a loose-knit mastermind for each other. We can be enough of a family, enough of a tribe that you know that once a week you have some place you can go where people, yeah, I talk honestly and openly about the fact we sell products. We love selling products. But this meeting, my wife and I and the people come here will give you everything we can just for love. That's it. And all we want is for you to be happy. And start with making that little girl inside you feel happy and safe. Can you do that?
I will. Thank you so much.
You are 100% welcome. And let's see if there's anybody else. And there's Phyllis Bowden. Hello, Phyllis.
Hello, Steve. Where do I begin?
Looking good today, honey.
Thank you. I have been writing for a number of years. I have a couple of short stories published. And I told a story for the Moth ages ago. But I have no formal training. I have maybe about 25 or 30 stories, short stories, and created nonfiction under my belt. But I somehow feel, because I have no formal training, that I would like to take a class somewhere where I could work with a teacher on a regular, continuous basis so that I can get that foundation.
Look, your
Then
local
work.
community college will have such, your local community college will have writing courses. I would suggest that you take our course, Life Writing Premium,
But you don't
because
get feedback. I looked
no, we
at it.
don't. No, we don't. So you
Feedback.
would then,
Feedback.
no. Okay, look, you don't need feedback. You want feedback, and you have every reason. So I would suggest that you do that and you take a local community college class. That way you've got the people for feedback, but what you're getting is structure from people who are, quite frankly, above the level of teaching at a community college. The people there they're good and they're smart, but in most of them, if they actually had writing careers, they would not be teaching at a community college.
Duh.
That's usually the case. You're going to get people who know more than you do, but then what we can offer you is as a higher level view. On the other hand, if you had to make a choice between those two, take the community college class. Take the community college class, because part of what you want is that sense of community, of people, enjoying your work. Now, I would say that what you really want is to get published.
Yes.
And so therefore, writing your stories, so you said you've written 25 stories. Where are you submitting them?
I really haven't been submitting them. I've gotten published through my union, the UFT, Reflections Magazine. They published about them.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So you have published stories.
Yes, the Bronx
Good.
County Arts. They have an anthology. I've taken some writing workshops there, and they have published a
Good.
few stories. So I'm not published at all. And I have enough material. Someone said, because most of it is nonfiction, someone said, you should write an anthology called The Bronx Gothic, because my stories are kind of scary.
Well, look, you could, but if they're suggesting that you self-publish, you need to speak to other people. That is not our specialty. Our specialty is you write, you
Mm-hmm.
read, you send your stories to the places that you read your stories.
Submit.
And what you want is a professional editor to send you a check. You want a professional editor who does not know you to send you money.
Yes.
That is the best. I'm telling you, there is no applause, there's no smile, there's no people in the class saying, "Oh, that's so pretty," that matches cashing a check. Getting a
Yes.
check from a stranger, that is the actual thing of a
Absolutely.
professional editor looks at your work and says, "Our readers would pay money to see this, and I'm willing to bet my reputation and my rent or my mortgage or my children's education on you." That's the praise that you're really looking for. So
Okay.
everything else is then a means to that end. Let's be real about it. So I would
Okay.
strongly suggest take a class at a community college, go to lifewritingpremium.com and sign up today. And then if
Oh,
you don't like it, you quit. You drop it after a single month.
yeah.
But
I
let
went.
us support you.
I did. I went. I took a peek, and then when you said we do not give feedback, I said, "Oh, this is
Yeah, community college. Now we do sometimes, depending on how busy we are, read stories and talk about them here, but we can't promise to do that because we are getting so busy in terms of Hollywood and publishing and everything. So
hallelujah."
we're giving as much as we can, but there are
Yeah.
levels that we cannot. When people
Mm-hmm.
have time to read your story, either they just got a lot of time on their hands or they're in the business of reading your stories. Okay.
Yes.
So unfortunately, Tanana or even I just don't have that time, but we
That's.
do have the knowledge.
I'm happy that you don't have the time because it
Yeah,
means
so am I.
like
You know,
you're
but
on.
by the way, and I will say this right now that if you want to ask questions about writing,
Mm-hmm.
go to talksteve.com. I have an AI that I've been programming with almost 2 million words of my teaching. And if you go to Talk, Steve, STEVE.com, for a limited time, you can ask it any question you want and give me some feedback. What do you think about it? It's kind of interesting. So you ask it questions about writing. It's right
Okay.
there. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Good.
You take care.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Absolutely. Who else? Is there anybody else who's got questions for us? We've got 5 more minutes. I can recap anything. Nikki. Okay, Nikki's sitting over there with her hands in front of her face, and she is smiling. So, hello, Nikki.
Hi.
Hi there. What you got for us today?
Oh, I I'm swimming in a lot of new currents that had not been open to me even as recently as last week when we were on the
Hmm.
call. Um, so I think much like I think someone was talking about Hephaestus's forge, maybe just the vibrational energy of a bunch of different things finally reached the right temperature for stuff to begin like unlocking.
Percolate. Yeah, there is a point where you're putting energy in and nothing is happening. And there's another point where it
Right.
starts bubbling. Yeah. And then you can use that steam to turn
Yeah.
in a turbine.
Yeah. So there's a lot I don't know about how this week is going, but what I'm working on is sticking with the things that seem to feel good and upholding the promises that I made to my imagination. So saying things out loud has helped a whole lot, and in the auto suggestion process, talking
Just for a
about
second, just for a second.
yeah.
I want because you touched on that. Saying it out loud is massive, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
terrifying, isn't it?
I thought I was too cool for it, but it turns out that just a week of saying things out loud has started building bridges between my conscious and subconscious mind in a way that
Okay,
I
great.
would
And now
not
you can
have
increase
credited.
that. You can increase that. You say it out
Mhm.
loud during what physical movement are you using?
Um, I have some physical therapy I do. I do the five Tibetans. I do the 5 minute miracle.
Okay,
I've
that's
been
fine.
chopping
That's
wood
fine.
all
So
day. So,
the five Tibetans, you can
mhm.
do it during five Tibetans. You can do it during walking, but
Yeah.
do combine the speaking out loud with physical movement. Very,
Yep.
very, very important. That takes it out of the emotional and intellectual and puts it in the realm of the physical. And as soon as you
Yeah.
do that, you're hitting a different level. Okay?
Yeah, and I hear myself making promises. So as part of the recipe for self-confidence and the desire to have a goal is that I promise myself out loud that when I receive these clues, when I receive these thought impulses, that I will take action on them. And they've started happening. And I think I posted about it yesterday that just I'm really focused right now on making sure I follow through with that persistent action and making, when I have an imaginative impulse, what am I going to do with it? How am I going to honor it so that it keeps flowing?
Let me
And
ask you a
that's
question.
where my brain
How
is.
how can we serve you?
Um, you guys are all doing what you do. What I have to do is show the fuck up and sit here and listen. And you guys are always delivering some sort of wisdom,
Great.
and I got to show up and listen to it. And I've got to think
And
I'm
just never forget. See, you're looking a little. I want some steel from you. So I want you to know, and I want you to say, "I am that bitch."
I am
Can you
that
say
bitch.
it? That's right.
I
That's
mean, that's
right.
why I'm wearing my pigtails today.
There
Um,
you go. Absolutely.
because
And just, be the mother of that little girl who absolutely would do anything to protect her. That little girl inside you has all the love, all the creativity, all the aliveness, but she needs to know that mommy is protecting her.
and
So
she's so
that
happy. She's so happy. I've spent a lot of time working on your "I am that bitch" statement this
there you
last
go.
week or
A,
so,
a,
and
a,
that's
a little girl whose mother is a total bitch toward anybody who tried to hurt her is a safe child.
yeah, and she's
A safe child is a happy child.
she's so happy. I've been playing outside in the dirt all day, and so I'm having a great day, and it's because I just finally
Fantastic.
decided I wasn't
Can't
too
ask for
stupid
more
to
than that.
listen.
We will continue to be here for you, darling. And I love that smile. I love, thank
Thank
you for
you.
giving us your energy. We're out of time today. And like I said, next week I'll be out at LAX at a technology convention. So I'll be broadcasting live from there. And my dear, dear friend and surrogate father figure, Larry Niven, will be with me. And we will find a way to bring these subjects, into my relationship with him and his relationship with his career. How did he use these principles to build one of the best careers of the 20th century? Unmute yourselves and say goodbye. Just hug each other, love each other. I
Bye,
love this
everybody.
community. I love this family.
Bye.
Bye.
All you
We'll
beautiful
be back
people.
next week.
Fly
Absolutely.
high.
And just let me
Thank
let
you.
me close up, with the Sanskrit expression. It says that the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you. Namaste. Have a wonderful
Namaste.
week. I love you guys. I love you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank
You
Take
too,
care.
Steve.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
you. Bye bye.